Would you rather give up ranch or peanut butter for the rest of your life? The answer is peanut butter. No one really has peanut butter. Plus ranch is so good. So I made myself a to-do list on what needs to get done on the Miata because, well, I want a little semblance of organization. So we have roughly like 25-ish things that need to get done. Now, they're not necessarily in order. They're in the order of things that came to my mind. The first thing, though, is the first thing we need to do, which is an engine refresh, and that's what we're gonna be starting on today. This is gonna be on that engine that we pulled out of the absolute smasheroni and cheesed Miata. That engine's out. We're gonna replace all the gaskets, give them time to seal and dry, so that way when it is time to put that in the donor car, it's already ready and good to go. But most of this other stuff is things that needs to be transferred over from the white smashed car to the gray donor car. Things like the brake booster, the wiring harness, the doors, taillights, everything that we ran through last time. There's a lot to do. I have some taquitos to eat. Let's go ahead and get munching and meet you out in the garage. Those were some good taquitos. I got the list up on the wall there, so we're gonna start checking things off. At a point now where I've got a bunch of work done on the engine. I've got the oil pan replaced, I've got the valve cover replaced, I got the rear main seal replaced, which are the big three if you're working on any engine. I also got to paint the intake, which was fun for me, a nice little change of pace, and this thing is pretty much ready to be done and put in. Now, of course, it's gonna need a little bit of time to dry, but we have plenty of things that we still need to do on the donor car that it's gonna give it enough time, which is why we did it first, so that way when we are ready to put it in, we don't have to do any of this extra waiting. So let me show you guys what the engine looks like right now, because it's actually pretty cool. So here we are, and this painting this black made so much bigger of a difference than I was anticipating. I wanted to keep this red because, well, first off, it just looks great. And secondly, I already have black on my other Miata, so I thought it'd be cool to have the opposite in here. And there's also another reason as well, which I'll explain in just a second. This is looking really good. Again, we did an oil pan, we did the valve cover, we did the rear main seal, placed the oil filter while it was off because that was easy. We cleaned and repainted the oil pan on the bottom. It's not really something that anyone's gonna notice, but I just would like to have it black, and so I thought it was just a nice, quick, easy thing thing to do since we had it out, and it needed to be cleaned anyway. The other thing that we did is I put a lightweight flywheel on here. Now I had that on my other Miata. You may even remember seeing me put it on in the video if you guys watched that time lapse. I'll go ahead and link it up in the corner right there if you do want to see it right now. But it had some issues pairing with the other clutch, so I took it off, and so we're gonna put it back on this one to see if I can get it working. Hopefully I can. If not, I can yank the transmission off of Miata in under 30 minutes because I've done it way too many times. That's on there, so super lightweight flywheel. I'm gonna save myself, I wanna say it's like 10 to 15 pounds on the flywheel alone, so it's an incredible difference. And of course, this looking black, so much nice of an offset. Now this is just a start. We still have a bunch of things that I wanna do in this episode, which pretty much will lead us up to a perfect finishing point that you guys will see. It's gonna be mwah. So let me show you what's next. The next thing that we need to do is to get everything out of this engine bay. Now, I'm gonna pull the radiator out. I'm assuming it works, but I also have a replacement one over in that corner, and since I know that that one is essentially brand new, I just feel more comfortable pulling this one out. In addition to that, of course, we're gonna have to take this engine out so that way we can make room for this one. Ironically, this one does run, but the crankshaft is out of balance, so it's just not worth it. Also, wanna see the coolest thing? A fully intact oil feeder tube. Why am I blanking on this? You know exactly what that is. My mind is working at 0% right now, because this one, not in great condition. We're gonna pull the engine out. We're gonna pull the brake booster off because, as I mentioned before, it's leaking on the bottom, so it needs to be replaced. And that one is in good condition, so it's just worth it doing it now. I also need to pull this harness off because this one is cut and that one on there isn't cut, so I would have had to swap those pieces over to this one anyway. The end goal is to have everything out, of course, so we could paint this. Because since the cars are already two different colors, we're going to need to paint the car anyway. And I wanna paint the engine bay and the door jambs before we put everything else from this car onto this and paint the whole outside. Full disclosure, the paint for the door jambs and the engine bay will be different than the color for the actual car. I'm just going to do them black because I like the sleek look, and I was debating if I should use the same color that I'm going to paint the car and the engine bay, and after looking at pictures online, I actually like the look of the black better, especially for the engine bay. It just has that gray offset, and having a black engine bay with a red valve cover, the rest being black, it's going to pop so well. So I'm really excited to do that on here. So we're going to pull everything out of here. Next move, same thing I said 20 times, but before we do, we got one thing to check off our list. And this is done. So I got sent something in the mail. It's pretty cool. Check this out. Microfiber towels, and even better, a ceramic spray from AvlonKing. These guys make ceramic coats that are actually really affordable. They sent me this out because today I want to try washing this car out using this as a ceramic product. Now, if any of you know the way I like to wash cars, I very much like to finish every single one with the ceramic spray wax on the outside once I finished up. It's a really easy way to kind of make sure that the car is maintaining a protective coating on the outside. Especially for myself, where at this house there's a lot of sap being dropped. It's always nice to have that layer of protection so everything washes off really easily. So what we're doing today is I want to give it a shot and kind of see what it ends up like, because with ceramic sprays in the past, I've had a lot of issues with them actually streaking when actually wiping them off. So we're gonna go ahead and give this one a wash and then apply the ceramic coat and see how it turns out. I gotta say, this stuff is actually really good. Like, unironically, the shine, I mean, you can see it reflecting of a car that's not buffed and it looks super good. But in addition, the towels, like, that wasn't something I was expecting, but the towels absorb really well and it just leaves no streaks, even on the windows. Like, there was times where there was drops left behind, but even then, it did such a good job. Has a nice smell to it as well. Anyway, that is super nice. Anyway, they wanted me to give an unbiased review. That is genuinely it. It's incredibly easy to use. This is great. I mean, this is something that I like. I really like washing cars a lot because they just get dusty. I always want them looking good, as I'm sure you guys do as well. And this is a very easy product to use. So 100% recommend it. I'll leave a link down to the AvlonKing down below. Thank you so much for sending this out. Back to the video. Okay, so we've got the engine out and I started to take things out of the engine bay, and I wanted to pause to give you guys a little bit of an update to let you know where we're at, because we're gonna have to change our course just a little bit. So first things first, engine came out. That was like the easiest engine pull I've ever done. It was literally 4 bolts, 2 engine mounts, and then 2 bolts right there for the radiator hose. So that was awesome. Looks like it actually has an aftermarket clutch on the back here, which is kind of cool. I may pull that off and save it for, I don't know, whoever, whatever. I have no idea. I just thought that's cool. But the other clutch on there had already been replaced, so I was like, I might as well just keep the replaced one that I know is working in that car. So anyway, that engine still looks really cool. All right, so engine bay, here's what's going on. So you may have seen a little bit of me fiddling around trying to get the brake booster. I got 3 of the 4 bolts off in the back. I just can't get that last one off right now. It's just in a really, really tight spot. Like straight up, I cannot fit a socket between there. So that's kind of frustrating, but that's part of life. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna take a little break, try to get all the wiring harness stuff disconnected. So I disconnected a bunch of stuff on the side here, pulled the wiring harness out from the side there. And then I was looking at it and I was like, obviously I'm gonna have to pull it through the corner here and through the corner there. And I was like, do I wanna lie under the dash? And I was like, well, I gotta take the dash out anyway. So what is the goal for the end of this video then? As I mentioned before, the goal is to get everything out of the engine bay. So we're gonna get the dash out, we're gonna pull the wiring harnesses out, and this engine bay should be completely bare. So that way for the next episode, we could start by shoving the car outside, pressure washing out the engine bay one more time, and then we could start getting this prepped and painted. So we're gonna have everything nice and sanded down, painted smooth, all cleaned up, and then we could start putting everything back together. But for now, we're gonna start with the dash. It just makes sense. It'll make it so much easier to pull the wiring harnesses, and it'll make it a piece of cake for when I'm having to do the dash transfer later on anyway. So let's start yanking that dash out. All right, so it feels like after a year, I finally got the entire wiring harness out of the car, which is over there. And I want to show you the car and what it looks like with it being out, but I really can't do that because I've actually started filming the next episode, which is painting the engine bay, as you guys know. And well, I finished. So the harness is out, and we now need to take the harness out of this car, which is going to take a little bit of work. I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera because, as I mentioned before, it's the exact same replica as how we got that one out. Take the dash out, pull the wiring harness out. You guys know how it works. So I'm going to do that off camera. So next episode, that'll all be good to go. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I know that it was a minute since I did the last upload, but that's totally fine because we're now on a roll and we're getting going. We've got the wiring harness out. Just finished painting the engine bay, which is the first part of the next episode because we're doing more than that. And we've got a lot more on our way to get this thing rolling. So stay tuned because more episodes are going to be coming at a lot more consistent basis now. Again, check out the link in the description below at philosupra.com. Check out any merch. Christmas is coming. Now's a great time to buy someone, one of your car enthusiast friends or their family members, a mug, get them a shirt, whatever it may be. There's that down in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. Can't wait to get this project rolling even more. I'll see you next time. Adios.